Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we are here with a video on what Slayer blocks you should have in old school RuneScape, or at least which ones I have and I would recommend to others. I think Slayer is a skill that is just based a lot on, how you personally feel about each and every task. There are spreadsheets, and I'll talk about it in a second, that can tell you exactly what the most efficient meta thing to do is, but at the end of the day, it's how you feel and how you enjoy these tasks, so I feel like the personal aspect has to come into play a good bit. So this ranking system is just going to be how I feel for the most part, but I have done 99 Slayer more than a few times over, and I feel like at this point I'm pretty experienced to talk about how I feel about these things, so hopefully you guys enjoy and take whatever you want from this video. So a couple things to know before we get into the block list. There are some really sweaty spreadsheets that can help you figure this stuff out. I'm not really great with them, but I have the link down below to the Reddit that has 4 different ones listed, and you can go from there, and it's really informational stuff, but just far too much for me. And like I said, at the end of the day, I think Slayer's more personal as far as a skill than most others, so I like to kind of emphasize that aspect. And then number 2, if you want to check out any of the task assignment sheets for any of these Slayer Masters, the links to those wikis will be down below, and there you can check out the weight of each and every task. There's just far too many tasks for me to go and list every single one. I wanted to just to be able to compare, but then it's just too much. So if you want to check it out, links are down below, and with that said, let's get into what I think you should block. So we're only going to do kind of the med to high Slayer Masters, because those are the ones that you really should start blocking task at. That's where you'll get enough points to really do this. So we'll start with Chaeldar. This is the Fairy Slayer Master, and as far as what I would start with and what kind of is predominantly the block list here is dragons. So the first one is Iron Dragons at 2.8%. Iron Dragons are just a brutal task until you get up to the point where you have a Dragon Hunter crossbow or a Dragon Hunter lance. So it's just, and even then it's still bad. So I honestly hate them and would block them early on. I think it's a really good block because it's something that will stay throughout the rest of Slayer. Iron Drags are a pretty prominent block throughout the rest, as you'll see. Then at number 2, like I said, more dragons. So there's a 2.6% chance of getting bronze dragons, and I would definitely block those. Much the same as the iron. They're just a hard task to finish, and they're not very rewarding, so it's just a bad time. These percentages will be higher if you don't have all of the monsters unlocked. So if there's certain quests you don't have for certain monsters, then these percentages will actually be upped. So if you feel like you're getting it more often than this, that would be why. From there, Steel Dragons is the third block, and that's another efficient one throughout the rest of Slayer, in my opinion, because Steel Dragons are just, again, a really bad task. Obviously here you can see the progression. Bronze are easier to kill, irons are harder, steels are the worst, and no matter where you go on that progression, there's not really a rewarding drop that's worth the pain. So it's just not fun. And then the final one, if you have Cabin Fever completed, you will get assigned Jungle Horrors, and I would skip those personally because they're just an awful task with no real drops that are assigned at a pretty decent clip. So, and I'm only going to put 4 blocks on here for Chaeldar, because at that point I don't think that many people have that many quest points to even do 4. And I think the 2 most efficient here really are iron and steel. So if you're only going to block a couple, I would block those 2. And then cancel, bronze and jungle horrors. From there, we're going to go to Konar, because I think that's just the logical progression for people in-game. At Konar, you have Drakes, which are the number 1 blocked assignment, in my opinion. I didn't mention it, but, you can tell by the rate of which these are being assigned that you should start by blocking the higher ones in theory. So Drakes are definitely a block. And then, in my opinion, Worms are a block as well at number 2. If you're a lower level and the money that you make at Worms is going to actually affect your bank a good bit, that's good. That means you should do them. Not everyone is at that same point in the game, so a lot of people, once you have enough money, Worms are kind of negligible for, what kind of a nuisance they are as a task, but early on, they're worth doing. So kind of a distinguishing factor there. And then at number 3, I have Black Demons. Again, this one's kind of iffy, because at high levels, I don't think Black Demons are a bad task by any means, but at lower to med levels, people tend to not like the task at all, because you don't get any drops, and it's just a long long task. And then at number 4, we have bronze dragons, which again is showing up from Chaeldar. This is only 1.9% though, so not that big of a deal. And then at number 5, we have steels. So you can swap steels and bronze with the block slot if you'd like. Most people, again, aren't going to have 5 block slots by the time they come to Konar, so I would recommend switching out the steel for the bronze personally if you're in that scenario. And then from there we go to Nieve, which I think is the next step up in game. And here you have worms and drakes being number 1 and 2 on the block list. Again, same advice goes. If you like the money at worms, then go ahead and do them, but eventually you will phase out of them, I'd imagine. And then at number 3 and 4, we have Aber Inspectors and Spiritual Creatures. Aber Inspectors are more of a personal choice for me because it's not a good spot to AFK at. However, I would actually think for most med level players, you definitely should do them. So again, kind of an iffy one, but I'll offer some alternatives here at the end of this list. And Spiritual Creatures, I think, are definitely a block. They're so bad. I would never do them. And then for 5 and 6, again, we have Steels and Iron Dragons. Don't need to explain much there. They are a constant throughout a lot of these lists, like I've been talking about. Just a terrible, terrible task. But if you wanted to swap out Aber Inspectors with something, personally, I would probably recommend Black Demons. Again, if you don't enjoy the XP that you're getting there, if you think it's too slow, maybe switch it out with Black Demons. Or if you don't have a cannon or you don't like using a cannon, you could switch it out for Sukwas, because Sukwas are terrible to kill without a cannon, in my opinion. So I would do that if I was in your shoes. And then from Nieve, the next step forward would be Duradel, in my opinion. Here, number 1 and 2 again is just drakes and worms. Feels like a broken record, but at this point of the game, you should definitely have those blocked. Number 3 is Aber Inspectors. Again, same logic as before, just personally not something I enjoy, but I will offer an alternative. And at number 4, we have Steel Dragons. I mean, just every single one's gonna have Steel Dragons in here, I guess. It's just the way it works out. And number 5, Spiritual Creatures. Just again, I would never kill them, honestly, ever on an account. I would just stay away. The only time I've killed these in like the last 4 years is when I went to get Dragon Boots on my Iron. That's it. Never been back. Beyond that, Iron Drags rounding it out at number 6 for the final block slot. Again, don't really need to explain too much, but it is what it is. At this point, maybe you have a Dragon Hunter crossbow and you don't mind the task, but I just think that the amount assigned is a bit too high to be, doable at even a reasonable pace. And the alternative slot here, I would put in Elves, but maybe if there's another task that you don't enjoy, you can always swap it in for Aber Inspectors. I think that's just kind of more of the one personal choices that you could make on this list. And then the final Slayer Master of the video is Krystillia. I didn't really know where to put the Wildy Slayer Master on this list. It's just kind of a Slayer Master that you go to at random times in an account. Personally, I either do it early or late, but as far as the blacklist, I mean, they're all 3.4%, so you can actually block whichever one of these you want first, just based off personal preference. But at the end of the day, I think these are the 6 best blocks. You got Bears at number 1, Earth Warriors at 2, Mammoths at 3, Scorpions at 4, then Ents and Spiritual Creatures rounding out the 6 of them. Personally, I think that Bears and Scorpions are the most doable of these 6, so I would maybe wait a little longer to throw those on the list. But overall, these are definitely tasks that would be nice to, not do in the Wildy, because they're just not fun at all. You're not going to be getting all too much from them, and some of them are just an extremely long task with little rewards. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. If there's any videos like this you'd want to see in the future, make sure to let me know. I have a bunch of ideas, but I'd love to hear more. And if you guys want to see more videos like this as soon as they go live, make sure to subscribe. And with that said, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and peace.